Warning, there is a good chance Bitcoin Mike has no idea what he's talking about. Do your own research. Enjoy the show. Thank you. All right, folks. So we got Bitcoin dumping today. We got the stock market dumping today. We got altcoins dumping today. Why is this happening? What could it be? Is there an asteroid heading towards Earth? Is life on this planet over as we know it? Has there been a new strain of the deadly COVID virus, but this one has a 90% death rate and we're all going to die? No. But inflation numbers came in a little bit higher than expected. Really not too much higher, but Dow drops more than 400 points as inflation report rattles Wall Street. U.S. stocks fell sharply Friday after the Federal Reserve preferred inflation gauge showed a stronger than expected increase in the price last month. So we all kind of knew. This isn't like, oh my God, what's happening? We all knew if inflation came out a little bit higher, that kind of means people have some fear. They think the Fed is not going to pivot. They're going to have to keep that hawkish stance on the economy. And that, of course, is never good for stocks. So let's hear what they're talking about here, what the talking heads are saying on CNBC.
On the economy, the Fed, and the markets. We're joined by Liz Young, head of investment strategy at SoFi, and our senior markets commentator, Mike Santoli. First, let's get to Steve Leisman for his reaction to the numbers. I was thinking, Steve, remember when we got the PPI and the CPI? They were, none of them were the worst it's been, but none of them were as good as we were hoping for. If you ask ChatGPT or GPT, whatever it is, to forecast this number today, this is what it would have been. I mean, you could have figured this would be it because, and the markets, they're down, but they're not like, oh my God, we're not, the stock sold off another 100 points. As Rick said, a couple of basis points on the 10-year. But it's just, it's crappy news for inflation hawks, but it's about, I think it's sort of where we thought we'd be probably.
Yeah, and I kind of agree with that, although I don't normally agree with CNBC. It's kind of like, this is kind of like, say you're 500 pounds and you want it to be down to, I don't know, 380 by the end of the year, and you weigh yourself and you're at 390. I mean, it's like, who cares? So yeah, I mean, they did predict that inflation will be a little bit lower. It's still, it's still going down. It's still not the end of the world. It's like they said right here, 4.7 versus 4.4. And I just don't think it's that big of a deal. So I think what we're seeing right now in the crypto markets and the stock markets is what always happens when there's semi-bad news that really isn't even bad news. I mean, bad news to me is like 2020, the economy shutting down. We have an unknown virus that's killing thousands of people in New York, and we don't know what's going to happen. Yeah, that's bad news, not this. So what you usually see is, like I said, throw the baby out with the bathwater. Everybody just dumps everything out of like a fit. And then in a couple days, cooler heads prevail, and the markets come back up. Now with crypto, sometimes you can get a really big dump. It changes sentiment, and then we dump a lot harder than we should. And then it takes some time to come back up. That can always happen with crypto. But to me, as long as we're above $22,000, I still think this is completely bullish. I think we need the pullback anyway. Wouldn't be surprised if we're back above $24,000 by the end of the weekend, to be honest with you. But, it's crypto. Anything can happen. But I do think this is a throw the baby out with a bathwater type of event. So we do have a pullback. What are we going to be doing this pullback? Well, I've been trying to get Litecoin, folks. I do have Litecoin, but I've been trying to get more Litecoin because the halvening's coming up in the summer. So here's a little story. More adoption pushes the hash rate of Litecoin up. So the hash rate with Litecoin is, I believe, the highest it's been in a long time. Litecoin has got a significant market push in the last few weeks, as it is evident, though it increased hash rate. Major reason behind this rise are Litecoin's upcoming halvening. So we got the Litecoin halvening coming up in the summer. Litecoin's been on an absolute tear lately, but Litecoin, I believe, is down to like what is it, down to $90 now? $92. So I'm going to be using this dump as a chance to buy more Litecoin. If Litecoin drops into the $89 range, I'm going to be picking up more Litecoin. We still have Cardano at like 30 or 37 cents, 36 cents. Not quite low enough for me on Cardano. But if it goes down below to the lower 30s, I'd pick some more up. V's chain's still hanging up in the upper 2 cents range. Nah, not quite low enough. And Theta $1.17. So everything right now is just kind of looking like a traditional pullback. Throw the baby out with the bathwater. We got some bad news, which really isn't even all that bad to begin with. Let's hear what George has to say over here on Cryptos R Us.
Table right now. Inflation, even though we had many 6 straight months of data showing inflation coming down, we may be tapering out a little bit and maybe even heading a little bit up. That's the thing. One reading of PCE showing going up is not so bad. But if the next one in March shows that February also went up, well, that's a problem. That's a problem because then that's going to leave the Fed no choice but to be super hawkish with the remaining rate hikes, the remaining FOMC meetings, which I pulled up here. So the next one is going to be in March. Then we skip a month. Okay, we skip April, and then we're going to have what in May, and then June, July, right? So all these following meetings. When is the rate hike going to stop? It was anticipated that maybe May would be the last one. If we're doing 25 basis points in March, 25 basis points, that'll bring us to 4.75%. And then May, that'll bring us to 5%. That was when it was supposed to stop. But now maybe there's going to be another one in June to bring us to 5.25%.
So anyway, the big fear is that, a lot of people were saying, oh my God, we're doing the 0.25 interest rates. We'll probably do that for a couple more months leading up to like May. And then the Fed will completely pivot. And then we'll be, off into the sunset. But with the higher interest rates or the inflation not curbing as fast as possible, now people are starting to think, well, now the Fed might have to be hawkish and they might not pivot until next year, or not next year, maybe more like, October, November versus the summer. That's like worst case scenario. And who cares? I mean, the Bitcoin halving isn't until next year anyway. So if the Fed has to be hawkish for another 2 or 3 months, past May, to curb inflation, I just see that as a buying opportunity. But I also think that with these traditional markets like Bitcoin, eventually Bitcoin's just going to say, screw it. We don't care anymore about these inflation numbers. So I think we're going to see that eventually as well. And the same with the stock market, because we're used to this now. This shit's been going on for the last year, the last 10 months. We've had this inflation problem. And I think eventually people are just going to be like, whatever. But that's what's going on. Not rocket science. We knew the report was coming out today, guys. We knew it was coming out. Even guys like Crypto Banter were predicting, well, it could be higher than expected. That could dump the markets. Okay, well, even he was right. That's what happened. It's like a flip of a coin, And a lot of this data is delayed anyway. So inflation could even be down, but the data is just delayed. Nobody knows. But regardless, we are seeing a dump in the markets. I don't think it's that big of a deal. This is like no man's land to me. Trading this is crazy because, like I said, we could be right back up to $24,000 by the end of the weekend, even before that. Yeah, we could dump down to $22,000. I mean, anything's possible, especially if that sentiment has changed or more bad news comes out. But to me, overall, everything looks fine to me. I'm just looking to see if I can get some cheap prices on some cheap coins, and I have Litecoin in my radar because I think by that Bitcoin halving, Litecoin's going to be at least $250. And that's within the next 5 or 6 months. So Litecoin, I am targeting you, but I will not buy you over $90. I'd really like to have Litecoin at $85, to be honest with you. But even if you look, Litecoin's only down 2% today. People want their freaking Litecoin. People want it. I'm not the only one. People want their Litecoin. I might actually buy some Litecoin at $90. I don't know, I got to think about it, but folks, don't overlook Litecoin, especially when you got the Litecoin halving coming up in the summer, and then a few months after the halving, you have the Bitcoin halving. I mean, this is like a recipe for just fucking insane gains. So And as you know, Litecoin can never be labeled a security. It's been around since basically as long as Bitcoin. Nobody really controls it anymore. Charlie sold all his coins. So keep an eye on Litecoin. All right, folks, that's pretty much it. Like and subscribe. Talk to you later.